Are you curious about psychedelics? Hi, if you're new here, my name is Dan Ronken. I'm a licensed therapist and a person in long-term recovery. And on this channel, we explore psychedelics and addiction recovery. We're here in beautiful Aspen, Colorado at the Wheeler Opera House for the inaugural Aspen Psychedelic Symposium to hear from the experts and from some of the attendees to hear what they're most interested in learning about psychedelics. The organizers, Healing Advocacy Fund, Aspen Psychedelic Resource Center, and Aspen Public Radio prioritize accessibility by only charging a nominal fee to get in. Unfortunately, there were still some who wanted to come in, but couldn't gain access. There was so much great information that was presented. Here are my 3 takeaways: clinical applications of psychedelics, regulatory issues, and the importance of community. And make sure to stick around to the end of the video to hear some great wisdom from the keynote, Dennis McKenna. Let's head back inside and hear from Dr. Dave Rabin, who shares an important general point about psychedelics before we move into clinical applications.
We all need to remember and keep in mind and make sure that we talk to people about when they're thinking, our friends and family are talking about using these medicines, is that these are extremely powerful tools that are literally rewiring our nervous system.
Most of the time when we treat people with addiction disorders, we're treating the trauma that underlies the addiction. It's not to say you're going to take a psychedelic medicine and overcome all of your addiction or substance use issues in one go, but it is to say that if we combine the psychedelic medicine with the proper therapy and the support and the psychological tools and training, that we actually can provide great responses to people.
Here's another panelist, Kevin Franciotti, to speak from a therapist's perspective on addiction.
Part of my work involves a lot of unlearning from the individuals that come into my office, because they come in with their diagnoses, aka their identities, their decades-long attempts at various standardized, approved forms of treatment that have failed them. I'm engaging with people so that they can access their own inner capacity to heal through experience elicited by these medicines.
In my knowledge of industry-wide outcomes, they've largely remained flat from about 1993 to the present era. And for whatever reason might be causing that, it draws concern to the limitations, reinforcing that open heart, open mind to the future innovation potential, and also maybe a change of heart in the way that we perceive addiction and mental health disorders overall.
People who are struggling, people with mental health issues, people with severe emotional pain, find a path that allows them to get through the day and on to the next day. And over time, that path becomes very well trod, and they lose sight of other ways to get through the day and get on with their lives. Psychedelic compounds have the ability to loosen those pathways up and give people new ways of surmounting their obstacles.
Next up is Megan Richmond, who you'll hear more of later in this video. She's someone who's done a lot of personal work and shares what life can look like when you prioritize mental health and spiritual healing.
I'm bipolar, and I love that. I love operating up here, and I love resting and sleeping just as much. And when I learn more about that diseased mindset can be, then it helps me reframe it. And I think that's what a lot of times these medicines and this work and these learnings and these teachings will do, is it empowers you to understand how to work with who you are and how to become what you want to be.
It is absolutely the wave of the future in terms of mental health. And I know that lots of people are very excited about the outcomes that people are having with depression, anxiety, and addiction.
Next, we'll hear about psychedelics for chronic pain, which was surprising to me because I wasn't familiar with psychedelics treating these conditions.
What brought me into this work is that at age 15, 16, I was diagnosed with a disorder called cluster headaches. And if you haven't heard of it before, it's known to be the most painful medical condition that is known. And about 20% of people that are diagnosed with the disorder at some point attempt suicide because it's that painful, and there is not a recognized cure for the disorder. I was 18, I tried psilocybin and LSD for the first time, and after suffering almost daily for 3 to 4 years. I was headache-free for 3 years.
When you're talking about something like a cluster headache, you cannot imagine this pain. You don't have a reference for it. People will literally smash their heads through bathroom walls in an effort to knock themselves out. So Cluster Busters has been advocating and innovating the use of psychedelics for cluster headaches. Most of them, because of our legislative frameworks out there and ease and equity of access, have never done psychedelics before, and they're scared to death that it's going to make them fry their brains. But eventually, because pain is the singular motivator, they try it. And the relief for most of them is enormous.
We've just heard from some of the clinical points of view. Now let's move into the topic of regulation and implementation. Here's Tasha Poinsett from Healing Advocacy Fund, followed by Megan Richmond from the Heartquarters.
Proposition 122 removes criminal penalties for the possession, use, sharing, and cultivation of 5 naturally occurring psychedelic medicines. In addition to that, it creates the foundation for a therapeutic access model.
I'm Megan Richmond. I helped co-found Denver Heartquarters. It's a 501c3 downtown. We started off as the headquarters for Prop 122 and then transitioned into the Heartquarters for the movement.
For more details on Proposition 122 or Prop 122, which is now law in Colorado, I'll make sure to add links in the description of this video below, as well as all the organizations referenced in this video. Now let's move on to the important component of community building.
My concern is having sufficient people who can coach to do it in a safe and beneficial way.
I helped launch the Global Psychedelic Society, which is the collection of psychedelic society leaders from around the world. A healthy psychedelic ecosystem relies on community to be at the forefront, so that we can heal in community, so that we can integrate in community, and that we can learn together. And you can go to psychedelic.community to find your local society.
I'm attracted to doing it personally, and I've always been attracted to doing it in a guided experience. So to me, it would be a safe way for people to approach something that maybe they want some self-growth, maybe they want some spiritual growth.
Dennis McKenna has been a researcher for over 40 years, and he specializes in ethnopharmacology. He's an OG, or elder, in this field. He's done too many things to name here and has made so many contributions to this field. I'll make sure to add a link to his academy below.
I'm going to sort of step into the realm of speculation and imagination. Some of what I'll be talking about has a pretty solid basis in science. Other parts of it are quite speculative. A famous person who did a lot of these kinds of presentations once told me, if you can't dazzle them with brilliance, baffle them with bull. You could put a person in an MRI machine and inject them with psilocybin or DMT or one of these things and watch what is happening in real time as different parts of their brain activate. What it doesn't explain is the hard part. How do we relate that to the subjective experience of consciousness?
So, there's just a teaser of his presentation. His talk covered a lot. Here's a high-level summary. Dennis McKenna theorizes that mind-altering plants like psilocybin mushrooms, consumed by early humans, led to significant brain changes facilitating language development and religious concepts. This theory is called the stoned ape theory. He argues these plants offer wisdom for sustainable decisions today.
If it's safe for you, please come out of the psychedelic closet. The more we normalize these substances, the more we can change the culture around us.